Afrofish OG.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to season 2, episode 3, otherwise known as what is this? Episode 33, I guess, of Afro in the Know, the one-stop shop podcast where you can go for all sort of things that you can't get from anywhere else. I'm just letting you guys know that right now, so you guys come to me and not go to everybody else's podcast. Anyways, I'm over here all the way from the social media TikTok land that I like to call it. That's because that's where I find most people. Game Journal. How's it going, my guy?
Hey, what's up, man? Glad to be here. Ready to yap it up.
No, I'm glad because I'm not gonna lie. After the 4 hours I had earlier, it's gonna be a decompress. But you know, they all know where I'm at. They all know where I'm from. But a lot of people might not know where you from. Where'd you start from? Like that's actually one of the big questions I always like to ask right away. Given the floor, kind of just about you, what you all about, and let the people know.
Yeah, so I'm Game Journal. Essentially, my content is a journal of my gaming backlog. So after each session wraps, I'll talk about my overall thoughts, call out some game design choices, talk about the story if there was a development there, maybe call out a particular gameplay moment, and then usually a rating at the end. Game journaling is something that, you know, I heard about, talked about a few times, but I do think sharing it publicly has its benefits as a review format. So everything I've played on my page has been blind, but you know, getting that granular with a game, like talking about each session individually, does I think give unique perspectives to reviewing that you're just not really going to hear in a typical review because there's just not the time to delve that deep for that segment. But you know, I do think at the same time, if I'm covering a game, let's say I'm on session 7, for example, I am innately taking those experiences from, you know, 1 to 6 into account, but it is still a review at the end of the day of specifically how session 7 went. So there's that factor of it, and I do think it's still just as much something for me of using it as this easy archive to, you know, 3-4 years from now, I want to be able to look back and be like, what did I think of my 4th session of Control when I was playing it? And I could just go to my page and, you know, check that out. So nice. I think it's, you know, it's cool. It's beneficial for me. It's beneficial for sharing it. And then quickly, I do want to also call out my podcast, Save State Sessions. So that I run with 2 of my friends, and essentially that is a gaming book club. So we'll be playing, you know, a game each month, and then once we finish it, we'll hop onto a Discord call and kind of do a back and forth of our thoughts of, you know, what we thought. So okay. That's another thing I've heard like talked about a few times, but actually going out there and platforming a show for it has been really fun. I feel like we're just really getting started with it. I'm excited to kind of see where it goes. And I do also think it has gotten me to play a few titles that I wouldn't have normally because we rotate in terms of who's picking what. So it's a good way to expose me to other titles that I, you know, may not be playing normally.
Okay. Yeah, and that's interesting because like what type are you typically? Like what are you typical?
I would say the easiest way to peg me is that I'm a very much single player story gamer. Narrative is very important for me. I feel like another thing with my page is I want to bring as much attention to possible, like how games have evolved as a storytelling medium in, even like the last 10 years. I feel like there's big trends that you could look at in terms of how things have changed. So talking about it critically, or literary, I think there's a lot of value in that. Something that's easy to go to as an example is like Claire Obscure. Everyone talking about how, like, I mean, the gameplay was amazing in its own regard, but the story and kind of how it's making you connected to the characters, and something like being able to debate the ending in terms of like what was the right choice. I'm not gonna spoil that for anyone that may have not played that yet, but yeah, I'd say that's my kind of go-to genre. Like, story is really important to me.
No, and that's understandable. I mean, I think for a lot of people, especially like, I know myself, I'm 34, right? So like the older I get, the more I'm looking for more like narrative ventures.
Yeah.
I'm looking for bigger, more narrative ventures, a little more hard hitting ones, rather than just the the simple looter shooters maybe, or just team based whatever.
Yeah.
And so that really kind of leads me. So like, does your other friends then too? They are like more. Are they like more like ball and gun gamers? So it kind of exposes them to stuff as well.
I would say if we're talking about like the podcast group, I think two of us are more leaning towards story in terms of what we want, but we do have our own. Like, one of the games that she had picked for her rotation is something that I never would have. If you want to look it up, it's Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. That I probably wouldn't have picked, but I'm really glad because it was just like this silly, goofy game. It was super short, like 3 hours. But and then I would say our other host on the program, he, I think, leans more gameplay. Story is important for, I think, a lot of people, but we kind of have like deemed him the, like, you're the guy that's gonna like play everything on hard mode and like unlock all the super secret special endings, and it's like that's just what he his vibe with it. He likes doing that. So in that aspect, it's like he has recommended games that I wouldn't really play normally. We played off on the podcast. I think it was a couple months ago, but that is just something I couldn't see myself playing normally. It's, if you're not familiar, it's one of those games where you're going to need to basically do note taking for puzzles later on.
Blueprints?
So it's similar to that. Yeah. Something like Blueprints, I'd say, Animal Well, Tunic, like all those. So I always felt like that part of it was not going to vibe with me, but after going through it, I ended up really being into that. So I think I actually am going to play like an Animal Well or a Tunic or maybe Blueprints eventually now, because of that experience. So I do think it's like having that kind of format with the three of us, it does help expose us all to the different kind of titles that we wouldn't normally.
And that's interesting, because I think those games, those type of puzzle games, are so unique because they require that, not just like obviously the initial brain power, but like having a notebook next to you.
Yeah,
figure that stuff out is so different. Tunic is fun. I haven't finished it yet. Tunic is fun. And Blueprints is one I just started.
Gotcha.
And so I find those really intriguing, and they're for like a very specific set of people, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny too. It's almost like, I think it's interesting how there's a lot of information that could be thrown at you, and some of it could just be kind of red herring, but you're going to write it down anyways because maybe it's important. Like, I might need number 476 here, or maybe this is just something, or maybe this is not anywhere close now, and I need this like 3 hours from now. So it was funny in our group chat that we have for the podcast. Like, someone, you know, shared basically screenshots of everything they put down, they're scribbled in their notebook. For me, I ended up just like basically taking screenshots of things that I needed, and then like sending it to myself on Discord. And I do kind of regret that to an extent. Like it was the most convenient way, but there's something that like when I saw the screenshots of her notebook, I was just like jealous. I was like, this is so cool. Like I wish I had this experience. So I think going forward, if you know I do play a Tunic or a Blueprints, like I'm gonna go the whole, you know, handwritten way as opposed to just having this like archive of screenshots of like
That's
the
fair.
numbers that I need.
I know, like myself, like one of the biggest when it comes to like those kind of any kind of puzzle games, it's the escape room games,
Mm-hmm.
and those are some of the most fun. I think I wish more people would try those. Like Call of the Sea, Escape Academy, two of like fantastic games. And so my question also comes up with, so like when you're doing, because you said you kind of take these into sections, right? Into like certain sections. So like it's just like already I only play for a couple hours and then I just kind of that's session one, then that's session two, then that's session three kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. I do think I sort of if I had to, I would say like it's usually maybe like 2 to 4 or 5 hours, but like I distinctly remember one weekend where I was just like laser focused on Cyberpunk and it was like a 10-hour session. So it's not always the same amount of time. But yeah, straight up it's like this was the session. This is what I thought of it because of X, Y, or Z. And this is, you know, the rating I'm giving because of these reasons. So,
you know, I do. And one thing you'd think you'd be very obvious, but I'm very glad you point out that you really did get like you give like an in-depth explanation for your reasoning.
yeah.
You know, and which is huge. It's a huge thing. I mean, I know I just had a live earlier about this, and it was just people who come in and they're also just extremely ignorant. So to hear someone be like, "Hey," like well, it was terrible. But to hear someone be like, "Hey, this is why I give my reasons."
Yeah.
Because I've always said, and I still believe this to this day, that even if you don't like something, you should be able to reason why you don't like it.
Yeah. And that's part of it too. It's like it's fine to not vibe with something, bounce off something, but and you know, be critical. Like I want people to be critical. I want people to think about if they didn't agree with the game design choice, why is that? Is it because of your individual habits or your play style, or is it more something? And then honestly, it's like it's not always going to make sense, but I feel like if you're going to call out something, like try your best to be like, okay, what would have made sense instead of that? So like Alan Wake, like that was something that I kind of got frustrated with the narrative design. Like I thought it was really cool that it's like they're trying to intersect this idea of like kind of a book within a game of, you know, Alan Wake being the storyteller. But I didn't really feel like the gameplay super accentuated that. The DLC was a little better with it, but a lot of the core gameplay was just like I have this flashlight and I shine it on the monster and then I shoot them. Like that doesn't really like work with what you're trying to do for the narrative design there. So I was like, if there was some kind of like, imagine if like almost like a notepad like pops on your screen and you're like trying to almost like Pictionary style like draw what you need, like there would have to be restrictions on it. But that was just something where it was like, if the whole point is he could kind of like Death Note, like apparate, you know, what he has in front of him for what he needs. And again, they did do that a little bit in the DLC, and I've told that in Alan Wake 2 it gets a lot better with that. So I'll see. I just played the Control DLC or started it this morning, so I'm hopping back onto the Remedy stuff. But yeah, it's like if you have an issue with something, like try your best to be like, okay, this doesn't work. This is why I think it doesn't work, and this is what I think they could have done instead.
Right. Yeah, and I say I'll take that as the third part, because I think being able to understand, articulate why you don't like something, and also be able to give solutions is how we are able to give constructive feedback.
Yeah.
Especially because so many people will just be like, this game is just trash, and then just move on from it.
Yeah, totally.
And so I'm interested from you who do do your own reviews, your own reviews and stuff. Do you find it difficult at times when doing a review because it's like I'm like, "Ugh, I like this, but at the same time, it's kind of frustrating, and it's like trying to get that out in a video or on paper, almost like the words you're trying to say."
Yeah, I mean, I think not even just with the rating in terms of like reviewing in general, like I have writer's block the same way you would with anything at times. So I mean, there's times where I'm just sitting there for like maybe like an hour or two and just trying to get like, because I'll get it and then like oh, this should be more clear in terms of what I'm saying here at this point, or I should mention this first because this is going to make more sense sequentially. And then in terms of the rating itself, like there is times where I definitely think I go back and forth on things, but like at the same time, I think that's just like a natural occurrence in terms of like, especially over time, like opinions change, you develop as a person, you have other experiences with games that, or really any media that may impact how you feel about other things. Like, so I find it interesting always when reviewers will go back and they'll look at their old things and then maybe they're like, oh, yeah, I feel the same about this, but they'll get to one thing and they'll be like, what was I thinking? Like, there's no way that it should, so you almost go back, and I think you could go there all day and just kind of go back and forth on things. Like, it can be difficult. But yeah, I think for the most part, I feel pretty solid in terms of where I land on things.
That makes sense. And I'll say one of the things I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to do differently. There's some things I'm trying to do differently in 2026. One of them is trying to remove an actual rating system.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I think there's a lot of people who will say, they'll go like, oh, this game's like a 7 out of 10. It's just mid. And I'm like, no, if you base it on a rating scale, 7 out of 10 is still good.
Yeah.
Like there's still issues, but it's like correct me if I'm wrong on this. Maybe you've seen this throughout TikTok. Maybe it's just me, but I've noticed that people give us a rating scale, but can't actually tell you why they give you that number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, for me, I don't use numbers personally because of that same exact thing that you're saying. It's just people just be like, 7 out of 10, crap, move on, but like to the point we were just having before, it's like, no, we want to like have an actual like nuanced discussion about it and talk about why we feel about our opinions instead of just throwing it out there as like this baseline surface level thing. So for me, it's like I have basically like a set choice of words that I'll use to kind of give my rating. So like one of them is providing. So exactly kind of what you were saying about it's good still. It's providing an experience. It's just not something that's like super noteworthy. And my hope is that by doing it that way, people will stick more towards the substance of the actual review as opposed to just being like we're saying, just like 7 out of 10, just move on, not even saying anything about it. So, yeah, that's kind of my thought in terms of why I choose that sort of reviewing system. But I think there's total validity to just not even giving a rating and just talking about your opinion straight up.
Have you ever went to do one of the sessions and just have like been so uninterested you're just like, I just can't do this?
I don't know if it's that I can't do this. It's just that there has been a couple games that I've played and I just don't feel like they kind of make sense to cover on the page.
Okay. I'm interested to hear which ones.
One that comes to mind was Tell Me Why, which is yeah. The developer's escaping me in terms of the name. I thought like there was some things going on that was working for me, but it just it just felt like I didn't have that desire to sit down and like write a script for it and go through all of that. Like it just felt like it was mostly the gameplay. It just didn't feel like it. Again, it was in conflict with that narrative design. So I kind of just played it, and I remember feeling that the game just sort of it came and went. It didn't really. I was covering other stuff at the time, and the moment just sort of passed with it. So
Okay.
I don't think it's something that comes up super often for me, like more often than not at this point. Like if I'm playing something, I am covering it on the page.
Right.
Um, one thing also that comes up is so I just went back to Hades recently, and I did make a video.
Oh,
Yeah, I did make a video on it, but it wasn't a. It was kind of a different style. It wasn't me making 6 videos about 6 sessions. It was just like I played through them all, and it was kind of just like a capstone of that whole experience. But it wasn't like my whole feelings with Hades overall. It was okay. This is me coming back to it, and this is kind of like my journey since returning in the past week and a half. Because I had done a couple clears with it, and then I just felt like I thought it was a great game, but the nature of it, the loop of like having to get to the end and fight Hades over and over and over to get that true ending, I just couldn't like commit to that grind at the point. So
right.
I dropped it, not dropped it, I really put it on hold. I had it in a folder on Steam of on hold because I have games that I'll just do that. And then after the Game Awards, I was listening to a playlist of tracks from all the Game of the Year nominees, and then Death to Chronos came on. I was like, man, like should I go back to that? Should I see if like things are different? Should I try and give it a shot? And like, I think in general, and this is what I say in the video, it's like I think it was more a desire to be like, is this how I feel and how I interact with roguelites in general, how I'm feeling about Hades, or is it specific to Hades how I'm feeling? So
Okay.
I was like, I'll try Hades 2, but if I'm gonna play Hades 2, I feel like I owe it to myself to play Hades 1 and finish it out, get like, the roll credits and all that. And then I also want to play Absalom, which I've been hearing a lot is really, really
I
good.
love Absalom.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh,
But
of course.
yeah, I want to in 2026. One of like my first goals is to interact with the roguelite genre more and kind of explore and see like it. Again, is this how I feel about the genre, or is it just my experience coming out of one game?
Right. And that's interesting because like for myself this year or 2025 was the year I started playing roguelites.
Okay, cool.
I never really played them until I was like, I'm not gonna be my kind of thing. But also I said the same thing about Souls games, and I learned to love them. So Absalom is awesome. I haven't beaten it yet. I'm still working on it. It's still got the co-op. It's got co-op and stuff like that, which I think is really cool. If I had more friends, that'd probably be funner. But it's definitely an interesting game because I've never played anything like it. A
Yeah.
roguelike beat 'em up is I think
Yeah.
a very interesting mash. Similar to Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
Yeah, I just played that a couple weeks ago and covered
I
it on
love
my
it.
page.
Like
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
it is. I'm still finishing a bit up with it. But it's awesome. And overall, I've
Mhm.
had a really good time with the game. Both of them.
Mhm.
I think it's I find them more interesting than anything now. Like I see why people love them as much as they do because they're adrenaline pumping as hell.
Yeah. Honestly. Like I'm right there with you. Like I've been kind of in a little beat 'em up like marathon lately because I played the team. It was all with the same friends so far. The TMNT game, Shredder's Revenge. Then we did Cosmic Invasion together, and we started this Power Rangers beat 'em up that just came up. It came out in 2024. It's a different developer than Cosmic Invasion,
I think
and
I know what you're talking about, but it's still kind of that still like pixelated.
yeah, it's the same like retro beat 'em up arcade style. I will say it's like we hopped on the session, and I think we played for like an hour and a half, and then we're like, okay, we're done for tonight. And then we tried hopping back on like yesterday, and it didn't save any of the progress. So like I think it's the same length as like TMNT Cosmic Invasion. Those are clocking in at like around 3 hours, but we were just like, what the heck, man? So we got to like play the whole thing at one go. It's like it seems like it saves your progress if you're doing it single player, but we're doing like a co-op, so.
Right.
It might have been something on our end, but it just the way that it made sense for us to group up, it didn't track the progress. So we got to nail down some time still to hop back on there and just get through it in one go. But yeah, I mean, in terms of beat 'em ups in general, like it's been really fun, and I am hoping to hit Absalom soon. And I think that honestly, like the biggest thing that's drawing it to me is the art style. I think the game looks like gorgeous.
It
looks crazy.
It's super unique. It's such an interesting fantasy art style, and that leads from the world to the characters. Has very much of like a TV 80s, like a bad 80s cartoon kind of vibe, where it's just like they made this right after making like Labyrinth.
And I feel like the intro movies for like Cosmic Invasion and TMNT kind of hit that vibe too, of like that 80s style you're talking about. So
and that's the thing that's so crazy is like Cosmic Invasion is a 2025 game.
Yeah,
but it definitely feels like I'm looking at my PlayStation being like, where do I put in the coins in the arcade?
Yeah,
that's what it feels like, and so they did such a good job with that. And it touches on people's nostalgia, which for this is a good thing, because I'm not gonna lie, nostalgia can be such a fucking killer for so many people. Yeah. But overall, like I think games like Absalom, Marvel Cosmic Invasion, they need more. They deserve more respect. The beat 'em up genre is one of those where like, you don't really think about it much at all. Like I don't think a lot of people think about it. Usually it's like shooters, sports games, RPGs.
Yeah.
Maybe a roguelike like Hades. But they don't really think about, like I was playing another game called Call of Sentinels.
Okay.
And Call of Sentinels is similar to Hades, except it's more just arena style. And it's super fun, super good. I bought it for like $6 off a PlayStation Store. And I kept on like we have Hades at home.
Yeah,
but it's not a bad thing, like because Hades is a really high level, so this game can be put up there a little bit with them. And I wish more people would explore these kind of games.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe being a content creator for so long as I have, it disheartens me. But like, I don't know if it kind of disheartens you hearing people who just like don't really spread themselves out. I feel like everyone knows at least one person who just kind of sits in their like
their bubble.
Either whether it's RPG or like ball and gun gamer, and they don't branch out with anything. And I don't know, maybe just me. I find that a little disheartening.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, maybe if you wreck the right suggestion, like you can help them see the light on things a little bit, no matter where they're sort of stuck. But I do think it is like they gotta, on their own onus, sort of step out into other things. I feel like for me, I was trying to branch out and just sort of play different genres. That's sort of what led me to trying out Hades, because I hadn't played any roguelites before. Same thing with Halo. I mean, I've played FPS games, but like just trying to like get to those things where it's like, all right, like what's all the fuss about with this?
I
it's
saw
like
you playing Halo Infinite.
And
how is that?
So that is like that's been tough for me so far overall. Like I think the open world so far is just not really hitting for me as a concept. Like I think it's interesting that they wanted to try that, but I don't think it's I don't think the rationale for it being an open world is really there. It kind of just feels like they wanted to do open world Halo and didn't think about why they should do open world Halo. Um,
Interesting way to talk about it there.
I do think I mean, it's still fun as a cooperative experience. You know, I think because the last session I did, I gotta throw together the footage still, but it was really just like hopping on and then like me and my friend like chopping it up, talking about things that were going on. We started talking about movies and it was just like us kind of having a convo with like Halo as the backdrop, which I think is a fine way to like experience it. Like it did give me a good session, I think, but like less because of like what I was playing and more because I was on a call with a friend and like, the gameplay was stimulating enough during that. But uh yeah, it's like I am holding out hope for it. I want it to get better. I heard kind of both sides in terms of the comments where some people liked it and other people were like, it's not going to get better. Like, cut your losses right now. But I've only done 3 sessions with it. So I'm going to give it, some more time, see how it is.
Which is good. That's a good thing, though, because it's like there's some
Yeah.
people who are willing to try it.
Yeah.
And because Halo Infinite is probably the biggest departure when it comes to Halo. And people who don't like it usually are like, this isn't my Halo.
Yeah. I mean, and I get that. Like, in the same way of I heard a lot of the frustration with 5 in terms of it not even really being a lot of Master Chief that you're playing as. He's in like 3 missions or something like that.
Right.
So I get that, and I think that it is valid to feel that way. I think it's tricky, right? I think the biggest thing is that if you're going to do something like that, it needs to be a gradual shift as opposed to just kind of tonal whiplash where it does not feel anything like it did before. And that's super tough when you have another studio coming at the helm and trying to develop a game while also trying to honor what came before. So I do not envy that job at all. But I think that was a tricky thing. Like I personally felt with Halo 4, it's like this feels very different than what I had before. It's not that it was innately bad. It's just that it felt more just kind of like a sci-fi game rather than Halo to me. So I do think it's valid that people are saying that. But to my point before, I think that's the thing. It's like it needs to be a gradual kind of change. Obviously there is a lot to be said of how that actually comes to execution, but I think that's kind of the game plan going in for something like that.
No, and that makes sense. I'm wondering then, like from your point of view,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess that it's more of a question. What do you think when you hear the phrase "no good games anymore"?
I think it's kind of silly, and it's like I feel it goes back to what I said before about it's fine to be critical, but that feels like someone who's just trying to hate because it's not the nostalgia that they had growing up. Again, I think it's fine to feel frustrated that like things aren't what they used to be, but like to say that gaming's just not as good as before, I think is kind of like crazy. Like me, I didn't even play a lot of games from 2025, but like Dispatch, Claire Obscure, like those things are like freaking nuts to me. I played Mafia: The Old Country this past year. That was really fun. I mean, I did have some small gripes, but like
Is it the
I
newest
think
one?
yes. I think it came out in like March.
Okay.
I gotta check on the release date. It might have been a little later, like summer, but that I think was like really, really sick in terms of like the storytelling and the characters. The writing was so good. It felt so grounded, and like I understood the themes that they were going for. So like even if a gameplay segment was kind of like for me, like I still was like, well, I'm still in it just to see what happens with this story. Like that's the thing. And to go back to one of the first things I said, it's like story is, what's gonna keep me engaged at the end of the day. Like I will forgive like subpar average gameplay that's kind of just whatever if you're gonna give me like a sick story in comparison to it. So yeah, in terms of like feeling that gaming is just not what it used to be, it's like I think people just kind of need to get over that. Like it's just I don't really understand it. And I don't think it's constructive. I don't that's the kind of the kicker. I don't think it's constructive.
No, that's very fair. I agree with that. I agree that a lot of people don't know how to articulate.
Yeah.
So then they turn it into something that they can easily digest, which is just mid. It's just trash.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, this sucks. Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But the gamers have a tendency to, and this, I'm going to say this with the like utmost disrespect, have the tendency to be some of the biggest entitled people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
I can't imagine from like a developer standpoint, just knowing that person's walking around being like, dude, your game fucking sucks. Like, and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, your whole thing is just lazy,
Yeah.
You guys are just lazy. Then you're like, okay, well, you're trying to make your own game. Well, I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like it happens so fucking much. Like, just shut the fuck up. But I guess also my question to you then, because I did that. I want to know, what do you do when you hear like that? Like gaming devs are just lazy. They're just they're just terrible. They only feed in for content content for the big content creators. They don't care about the casual gamer.
Mm-hmm.
These are all things that I've heard. So I'm wanting to know from your perspective.
Yeah, I think like the two things that come to mind for me is like everything needs to be observed like contextually and situationally. So saying just kind of like a generic comment doesn't really get you anywhere. Specifics and nuance matter in terms of a discussion to actually like move the needle forward. And then I would say like, in terms of how I feel on it, like I would try to rehabilitate, them as best I can. But there is a case where like you can kind of just tell that someone's no matter what you do, it's just gonna bounce off them. And at that point, it's just not worth the shake, in my opinion. So I think I have a tolerance level for it that I'm like willing to hear you out. Because to your point, sometimes it is people are frustrated and they just can't articulate it. Like, and I think it is an important skill to know kind of like the difference between somebody who is just going to hate all live long day and it doesn't matter. They're just going to say this thing's mid, like they don't know what they're doing, versus someone that like you could have a discussion with. You just sort of need to like nudge them in the right direction. So I think that's the important thing.
No, that's very true. And I think it's very difficult for a lot of people to also require to get outside their comfort zone to be able to make those changes.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many I call out a lot of men during stuff. And there's a lot of men who will, whether it's not play a game because it features women, will do something along those lines, or what is so ridiculous. And it's funny because like, as we try to just overall try to make the world a better place through gaming, and these are the things that need to be talked to. It's crazy how my comment section will just pop off sometimes. Like these motherfuckers got PhD in wokeism 101. Like it is insane. They're like, well, actually,
Yeah.
this isn't woke, and it's blah 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 blah. And they gave like I had to give me like this, like a fucking long reason, like this. Like it was a whole thing on Instagram, being like, I'm gonna show you like
Yeah.
the whole time. And I'm like, yeah, Nick, I'm not reading that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not reading all that. That's a waste of my time. Which I always find hilarious. Now, my question also comes in for because you do like these game sessions, you do the reviews and stuff. Has there ever been a game, and we'll use these two-pronged questions, one that has been like you were very surprised at how good it was, and the opposite, you were very surprised by how just not for you it was?
Okay. So one thing that comes to mind recently, it's not that I was surprised at how good it was, because I know it's like an iconic franchise, but for Doom, the original, 1993 game, I just played through that recently. And I was more surprised at much I was how much I was enjoying it. Like I thought it would be like good for me, but like when I started I was like, man, like this is like nutty that they did this in 93, dude. Like cuz did play Doom Eternal earlier in the year, and I liked that, but there's just some like secret sauce with the original Doom, man. Like I don't know what it is. It's like I started it, and then it was more that's like I knew it was going to be good. I was just surprised at like how much more I was responding to it overall, especially because I was like with Eternal, I thought it was good, but like I think the original Doom just like was completely on a different level. So that was something where I was just like surprised, recently of how much more I was enjoying it than I thought I would. In terms of something that, okay, this is one that comes to mind. Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty was surprisingly not as good for me as I thought it'd be, but frankly, I think it was my own fault because I kept hearing through, talking about the game, it's like, okay, do the main game and then do the DLC afterwards. And I think that was a fatal error because the biggest strength to Cyberpunk was it's really feeling like an open world that you could just explore. And by keeping that DLC to the end, it's like all I had were these DLC missions that I just kept ping ponging for. I had nothing else to break things up. So if anyone hasn't played Cyberpunk and Phantom Liberty, just play them both at the same time. If you've heard either, it does not make sense. I don't know why that kept coming up in discussions for some reason, but that is in terms of like I kept hearing with the game that's like, okay, play the main game, finish that out, then do the DLC. Whereas I wish that I just integrated the DLC into my playthrough, because I think it would have been fine then. It would have been like, okay, I'm doing this Phantom Liberty mission, that finishes, and then I'd go do like a side quest or like advance the main story. So I really think it wasn't the game's fault. It was more how I chose to, interact and go through the experience. And like, if I were to replay Cyberpunk, I would just do it all in one go. Quick side note, that was really fun to play for me because I hooked up my Logitech wheel. So you can do it. It's just a little funky. You got to like get like an Xbox 360 controller emulator and then like hook it up to that. So it's not like super intuitive, but it is possible. Right. But yeah, to answer your question, those are the two that kind of come to mind on a gut impulse.
No, and that makes sense. Like I think overall there's like always games that like will come through and they'll kind of disappoint you to the point where you're like, I don't know if I want to keep going. I use Starfield as always an example.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I haven't played it personally, but I understand people's frustration with it. I know that like Star Wars mod came out for it. That's been like a lot of hype, and then
is it Helldiver? No, Warframe. I thought was the one that had the.
There's some like there's like some I don't think it's like an official release. I think it's just like a mod for it, but it's like a Star Wars mod for Starfield. I don't know how good it is, but it came through on my short form feed.
Well, apparently they're doing a like a whole 2.0 kind of
yeah,
thing.
that I heard too. Which I mean, hopefully, as always, I'm hoping that games can turn things around in terms of
Right.
public sentiment. Like No Man's Sky did it, Cyberpunk did it. I think there's always that argument that comes up. Then it's just like, well, can it just be like correct on release? Like, the thing is, it is a little frustrating because it's like we do live in an era of patches now, but it's got to be in like a functional state, right? Like, I understand you're not going to have everything, and it is obviously really cool that we have a technological advancement now that we could just patch things out. It's not like it's on the disc and you got what you got.
Oh
But
my god, that's such a frustrating fucking thing too.
mhm.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, it's a lot of it comes down to those people who are like, gaming was better fucking 20 years ago when we didn't have to worry about blah blah blah. And I was like, you don't even remember 20 years ago. Why are you starting? Like what
Yeah.
what are you getting out of this?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, what are you getting out of being negative? If it's again, to have an actual discussion and kind of like come to a conclusion, or at least a little bit of like you see eye to eye on it, like, then that's one thing. But if you're just out here like, this sucks, like, what is the point of this? Then it's like, why are you even interacting with this medium? Like, go do something else with your free time. Like, that's again my thing. It's like, well, it's weird that you're gonna complain so much and then choose to continue playing it. It seems a little counterintuitive. Like,
It is.
I mean, if you want to boot up the game that made you so happy like 15 years ago, go ahead and go about your day. But it's like, you can't really have it both ways, where it's like, I'm going to be here, be a menace, be frustrating, and not offer anything constructive at the same time.
No, absolutely. And it is beyond frustrating. I will say beyond frustrating, seeing so many people who are just so willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
Into the fact of like, so much of the gaming community. Honestly, it's such a daunting task because like there's so many people throughout the gaming community who just do not care.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about the stories. They don't care about whatever. Speaking of which, that's actually something I want to ask you about too. They don't care about the characters. They don't care about whatever, as long as they just get a good product and consume it. I've always tried to encourage people to do more. One thing I wanted to ask about, and it's just to give a clear definition, at least what you have for when you say like how the narrative tone of something is like can clash with, I think it's gameplay you mentioned.
Yeah, so narrative design, basically, if you have heard the term before, it's kind of like a broken record, but like, ludonarrative dissonance is this fancy word to basically say that the story and the gameplay, what you're supposed to be doing for the gameplay and what you're supposed to be doing for the story are not in sync. And one of the kind of like classic examples everyone brings up is like Uncharted. It's like weird that we're supposed to like love Nathan Drake as this like charismatic, fun-loving, like jokey kind of guy, yet he's going to this island and killing all these people that he really doesn't have to. Like, he could do the Batman like non-lethal thing, but no, you're going there and you're like mowing down these guys. So that's an example that of ludonarrative dissonance. What you want is kind of ludonarrative harmony, where it's like, okay, what I'm doing from a gameplay perspective makes sense based off of what I know story, and vice versa. So there are definitely people out there that can explain things for that a lot better and give a ton more examples, but that's kind of just a baseline definition of like narrative design and kind of like how it can be in a positive way or a negative way. One of the comments that on my the Save State Sessions podcast I mentioned was that one of the co-hosts mentioned, it's like sometimes ludonarrative harmony or dissonance can be done intentionally to make the player feel a certain way. It's
Right.
like,
I've heard
so yeah, it's as long as there's intentionality with it, like that's the key. But it's not inherently that one is bad or the other. It just tends to be that ludonarrative harmony is better compared to dissonance. So yeah.
That does make sense, because I think one, I don't think a lot of people know what ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah, it's it's like it's such a like I don't know, it was like cliche or like buzzword, like look at me, like I know this fancy ludonarrative harmony and dissonance.
Went to school and actually paid attention.
But yeah, it really is just like this fancy thing to say that like gameplay and story should be working together towards the same goal instead of clashing in most cases.
Which is true. Could you also give examples of that as well from like any games that you've played?
So another one for dissonance that comes up always is that with Cyberpunk, they're like, okay, they give you this clock of like, I don't know the exact amount, but they're like, you've got Johnny in your head, and if you don't find this cure, it's going to be real bad. You're going to, die and this, that, and the other thing. But then they're like, also, here's an open world game. Like, have fun. Go do all this to the, what your heart's content. So, you can kind of like brush it aside, and it's not something to like, I can't think of the specific word for it. It's not to like nitpick things. It's just kind of to point out, because it's like when things are working together, I think it can create like a better experience. So I think it's just something to be like aware of in a game, rather than just being like, well, this wasn't in harmony at this point. This is dissonant. So like, I'm going to die, like.
Right. And that's true, because it's like besides the fact that some people just are so asshole in their critiques. But yeah, like I think, I was talking to someone about, he goes by TJ, he's over on TikTok, and he kept talking about how like the story for like God of War Ragnarok does not match when it comes to like what is being said about these characters.
Okay.
Which is true. He's like, what's her name? The Angerboda's grandmother. When she ends up you end up having to unalive her, because she either that or she unalives you, and you end up like having to like it's a moment in there. Wow, I'm all over the place. I'm tired as fuck. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to get my words together. I'm like so all over. But what I was trying to say with like ludonarrative or the dissonance, or they don't connect, is like the fact of like Kratos is like a demigod, right? And so the way that he was talking about it was like, since Kratos is a demigod, he shouldn't be being affected by any of the weaker enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's a difference between like, narrative and gameplay, I don't have an issue with it, because I can see both ends with it. Like, I can see both ends. He said it ruined his immersion. Is that something that would ruin your immersion for you?
I don't know if specifically for that experience, because I just don't think I have like the full context, but like that is kind of part of it, that it does sort of pull you out of the experience. Because I mean, the best games for me are when I'm really connected to what's going on with the story and the characters. And if gameplay is clashing with that, and again, kind of drawing me out, like I can basically, I can empathize with where he's coming from, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And maybe that's something that like you notice, like from the game developer's perspective, maybe that's something you notice during like focus testing or focus groups, and then maybe they come up with some kind of reason from a story, and however justified it is or not, but a kind of explanation for it. I think kind of coming up with story reasons for gameplay as much as possible. It, on the flip side, creates as much immersion as possible. Like, one thing I think about for that is for Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 1, they had the heat sink, like set up where it's like you had infinite ammo, but it had a certain amount and then it had to cool down, and then they switched to thermal clips. And instead of just like being like, it's just thermal clips now, they gave you a whole codex entry on it. It kind of explained like in between the first and second game that there was this development. So this is where everyone has switched to it now. Like, obviously at the end of the day, that's something where they're just like, well, we just want to like switch the ammo system and we think it's going to make sense. But like, they put the effort in to make it feel like it was, justified and like part of the world, and giving you like rationale for that. So that's for example where it's like, when you put that extra moment in, it can help me feel like I'm, understanding the world better. And I'm at that point, I'm like, yeah, man, like let's do thermal clips. Like I'm on board with your gameplay decision more, because you've, given me this kind of story part of it, of why it's happening. Why should I care about it? That's kind of what I, a lot of the times at the end of the day, come back to. If something's happening in the story, why should I care about it? If something's happening to a character, why should I care about it? If I care about it, if I'm immersed with it, if I understand what the character is doing, how they're feeling, what their motivations are, what they've gone through, what they're trying to do, like all these things, like that at the end of the day is what is going to get me to like truly love a game and have it like last in my memory. I honestly was playing a lot of live service stuff for a while, because like back in college, it's just, it was that peak of esports.
Yeah.
And I was riding that wave, but I came back and I went back into single player, and I played Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the whole thing modded, and I played Red Dead 2 like back to back. And those two single-handedly was like, this is what like gaming can really like achieve. This is what gaming can do to have narratives like this and stories that you just get so connected to the characters. And to all my points before, you understand their motivations, you understand their past, you understand their present, you understand their future. You know so much about them, and all of that makes me care so much more. And the emotions when you're going for that in the narrative is that's what makes it hit at the end of the day.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a lot there, but
and it's interesting that you're mentioning like the connection between the gameplay and like your story, because it is huge. Mass Effect does this also, like you said, very, very well.
Yeah,
everything is explained. Everything is, because I feel like much that's not really explained, or just because there's something about. I'm sorry, I'm still all over, but like there's something about when like a game. When a game kind of just does stuff on their own and it just expects you to kind of go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can really derail people's experiences. Why one of my favorites always is Ratchet and Clank.
Mm-hmm.
They're some of my favorites, but I think they always overall do a pretty damn good job of explaining the world itself and what the world has to offer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always been good with that kind of situation, even though like the most wildest things in there are the fucking weapons. Some of those are great, and that actually leads me to another question. Do you prefer games at all that just you can kind of just shut your brain off with?
I think sometimes. I think they have their place. Like, I honestly feel some people may rake me over the coals for saying this, but a lot of the Halo games have been that for me. I think there's been some really good. I think there's been a lot of good moments with the story, but I think overall a lot of it has been more enjoying the social aspect with friends where I'm co-oping. And I've just played them on. That's what I mean. Like, I think that there was a lot of good moments, but overall, it is frustrating. I wish that the series overall that I could get into it as much as everyone else has, because I love that it has been this. And I think a part of it too is that playing it so far removed from that era of, like, I think if I grew up with them and played 1 through 3 on release, like,
Yeah.
it just would have been a different kind of thing.
It's
Like,
it's kind of like you have to, just kind of a moment where I call it, you have to be there moment.
yeah, I think another way to put it is someone, I can't remember the podcast, but basically they were saying that we need to create an expiration date for games, where it's like, if you haven't gotten to this at this point, you could still play it, but it might just not hit the same way as if you had played it, like what I'm saying, growing up. Like, I think if I played Halo 1 through 3 and I was there for that midnight release with all my buddies for 3, and then we, played the camp, ripped it open through the disc in their Xbox and played the campaign all night long. Like, it's just a different kind of experience, and I think it's hard. I will say, frankly, it is hard for me to, when I'm reviewing games, keep in mind of if it's an older game, that it is an older game. Like, it sounds so simple, but it's like I find myself, I default to almost, not that I'm like expecting it to be on, like, I know games have changed completely, but I guess it's like going back to what I was saying before, how storytelling has really evolved in terms of being a little closer to something like film or TV, where you can like really debate, if there's a right or wrong choice for an ending, something like that, maybe. So yeah, I think it's a lot of things of just not playing it at the right time in my life. But I think that there's been a ton of value in playing the game still. And like I said, I think that there's some really iconic moments that I'm glad that I have experienced now. But yeah, so it gives you kind of a little more reasoning in terms of why.
And that's I'm gonna kind of talk back on like that kind of like you have to be there.
Yeah.
That period, because I feel like that's how I feel with KOTOR.
Okay. Yeah.
I went to play KOTOR and
Same thing. I
literally
it bounced off me, and it's so frustrating because I love Mass Effect so much. It's just kind of a nature of like the passage of time, and like certain things, certain trends that just we didn't even think about back then. It's, you try your best to be like, I understand it's a game from blah 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 year. But then it's like, if I could play devil's advocate a little bit, it's like I played Doom 1993 and I was still like, holy shit, like this is 1993 and they're still doing this. So like it works both ways. Sometimes I'm like, I can't believe that it's this. Or Final Fantasy VII, it's like that still felt like crazy good, even looking at it from a lens of like a modern view, like the original, I'm saying, not the remake. It's like, so I don't want to be like
you just admit it. You just wanted to see Block Sephiroth take out Block Aerith. Like when you realize that, you look back at it now and you're like, damn, this has more in line with Minecraft.
Yeah, the chibis were something. They were something. I am excited to get to the remake eventually. I've kind of been on a Final Fantasy journey of like playing. That's another one where I'm finally playing those. It's like I haven't for a while now. I do want to get back into one, but so far I've played 7, 9, and 10. So yeah, that it started with 7. That was my first and kind of my gateway drug to it. I'm not gonna play all of them, but there are a few that I want to play, like 6, 4, then I want to do Final Fantasy. I think what is it? Reunion,
Mhm.
the one that was like PSP, and then they ported it. And then basically, my plan is to once I'm done with whatever I want to play, start doing the remakes of Final Fantasy VII, and that should like line me up with when they finally come out with Part 3. So we'll see. We'll see. It kind of depends on the timeline, but
Right, and I think there's because like I said, I've scrolled through, I've seen a bunch of them. Like a couple of them you've played that I've really really enjoyed, such as Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Mhm.
Those games are fantastic. The Cyberpunk, I'm still working through. I'm terrible when it comes to completing games. Like I'm so bad.
I was like neurotic about like, well, I think in general, I try to when I start something, I try to get through to finish it. Sunk cost fallacy is definitely a thing, and I think that there maybe is games that I should drop, but I'm kind of holding out. I'm always like holding out hope for it because like an example of one is Control, where it's like I'm so glad that I stuck with that because not to spoil anything, because I want
Oh, no,
if you have
it's fine. The game's been out for since what 2018.
yeah, but I guess
Like,
it's just more that it's like that was such a cool like final sequence for me that I don't want to like ruin it for but okay. So if getting to do that ashtray maze sequence, like
yeah,
I feel like sells the whole game for me. Like that whole thing is nuts in terms of like where you have the music and the level is just changing around you, and it's just this like crazy montage. But they essentially did a montage in a way, I feel, in
they
a
did.
game.
You
They
could
did
tell that developers wanted to flex.
yeah.
I
But
think
I think that's so cool. I mean, that really sold the whole experience for me overall. So it's like I feel things like that where I'm like, all right, I just gotta like keep going with it, and then like I'll have the control moment of the ashtray maze. Like,
yeah, and I loved besides the ashtray maze. I mean, just the game itself is so interesting because I realize I love worlds or areas. I guess I can just call it an area for
mm,
the oldest house that just feels alive. It feels like every place you go to feels so different. Whether it is the ashtray maze, whether you are fighting literally a giant fucking turd, like at one point you go into the hotel areas and each one has their own separate thing, or even like the fungus, which was like such an odd and interesting thing. But the one game that you had on there that I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on, and that's Quantum Break.
ooh,
Because I
okay,
feel like Quantum Break is a game that just does not get the same amount of credit
yeah,
as it, and it's weird because I'm in a really weird spot with Quantum Break.
okay. So let me hear what you think first, and then I'll
So
give you mine.
it's been a bit, but
Yeah,
when I look at it in terms of like the story itself, it's very interesting because of how you took it from like a TV show and a video game,
mm-hmm.
right? I find that interesting. I can't think of the main character's name, but I found him pretty interesting for the most part. Not in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't find him interesting at all. I didn't think it was gonna be. I was like, I don't even care. I'm like, I'm just playing as Iceman from X-Men. Like,
Yeah,
but like
yeah,
having the time powers and stuff were pretty cool. Now I will admit, especially because I couldn't help myself because I played Control first and then I went and played Quantum Break. So I was
okay,
comparing the Control gameplay to Quantum Break, and
okay,
when you use those together, Quantum Break's
yeah.
incredibly boring
Yeah,
compared to Control.
I can totally see that.
Like, don't get me wrong. I want myself some motherfucking time powers. Like, no one's gonna tell you, like, hey, dude, I can make a time bubble around myself and just say, fuck it. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the whole moving bullets around through frozen time doesn't really fucking work. But I don't care. Like, I don't care. But yeah, I just overall I felt it is a fun time, but it gives me probably the most oddly unique experience of like that Remedy verse with like Remedy Control, Alan Wake, and
Yeah. Yeah, so I remember like my general thoughts being that For me, it was pretty cool that I was just kind of in awe of the like audacity to be like, yeah, we're gonna do a game and a TV show, because trying to do one kind of medium is, not hard enough as it is. Let's try to do both at the same time. So I think a lot of it was just like an appreciation to even attempt something like that. And I think like that's one of the biggest things that I like about Remedy in general, is just that they have that tenacity to go out and kind of explore of like, okay, what does it look like if we have a TV show with the game? Max Payne, even though it went to Rockstar, is like, how do comic books intersect with games as a medium? Like, I think that's like so interesting, and like there's a lot of potential, I think, honestly, still, of like games that could look at those intersections between like, what does a video game do well versus what does a TV show do well, or a movie. But to answer your question, I can at the same time totally understand how for some people it was just like really frustrating of like, okay, so I'm gonna have this gameplay segment for 25 minutes and then I'm just supposed to sit here and like watch the show. Like I made this one choice and that's supposedly gonna impact things, I guess, but it doesn't really have the level of interactivity I think needed there. So that's the kicker, is it's that there's too much downtime for people. And I totally get that, because it's like, if you say I'm going to pick up a game, there's certain expectations of what it's going to be.
Yeah, you should never take the game out of the player's hands.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just a completely passive experience at that point. Yeah. So that I totally get. And for what you were saying in regards to comparing it to Control's gameplay, like, yeah, I think that's just a case of, even if you're kind of vibing with Quantum Break's gameplay, if you're like comparing it to Control, like it's definitely worse. So
yeah, and like it's and that's the thing that kind of sucked with it, is that because there is so much downtime with Quantum Break, by the time the action itself does not hold up enough to keep your interest. Now, Control could actually probably pull that off, because the constant use of telekinesis and all that, like, and all the abilities and stuff, do help make up for the fact of the story itself. Especially that fridge, the evil fridge.
Like, dude, I was stuck on that fridge boss for a while.
Dude, I was like, okay, like as soon as I went to the world, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Like,
yeah.
There's very few video games have made me ever just say that. I mean, Quantum Break made me say that like fucking 4 times.
Yeah, I think overall there was more potential there. It's like, again, I think Remedy was interested in answering a question. I don't know if they were super effective in doing that, but I think it's cool that they tried. And it's like,
yeah, I'm cool that you try. I'm interested to know if they were trying to spin their like Remedyverse out into different mediums.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe we could always talk about a hypothetical. Yeah. Of like, if that really hits, then you just do like a standalone TV show, and then you have someone watching that. Maybe then because it's a TV show, that you get somebody who's watching that, and then you tell them that it's a game. Like, TV adaptations of games have been pretty good as of late. Like, I think overall, maybe Hollywood just kind of realized that it's like, we should do a TV show because it allows more time for characters to breathe and grow and like do world building the same way that like a game would, as opposed to just doing a film, which ends up more times than not just being like a shitty condensed hour and 30-minute version of 25-hour experience, let's say, and you're just not going to be able to do that justice. So I'm really glad that there's more TV show adaptations of games. I think that's 100% the way to go. It just gives you a lot more time to breathe and really do what I think you need to do to adapt a game.
And I think also too, it also threw me off with Control is the fact that the TV show doesn't have the same characters as like the game. So
Oh,
now
okay.
I feel like I'm playing a game with Iceman, but
Yeah.
I'm using a completely different person
Yeah.
this other word. So I was like, damn, this would have been cool, not as like a time ability, but an
Yeah.
interdimension ability where I'm
Mm-hmm.
facing off against two people. These guys are the
Mm.
same person and they
Yeah.
are in different timeline or different dimension kind of thing. That would have been interesting. Them trying to that one's trying to escape their world, the other one's trying to escape their world,
Mm-hmm.
or something along those lines. Because I'm like, it's like if I have Master Chief in a Halo game or Halo TV show, not the actual TV show, and then I decide to go, all right, well, we're gonna, at the same time that Chief's doing this, we're gonna show another main character named like Sparky. And Sparky is from like not even a part of the Spartan program or anything. He actually just a different dude from fucking like Reach. And we're gonna do a story about him, but they're never gonna interact. They're never gonna interact. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a weird feeling. Like that just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah, to that point, like I even like pretty late into the game felt like I think the main character's name was Jack. I might be wrong on this, but I just didn't really like connect with him. And I think it was because the there wasn't a lot of him in the story. I mean, like, yeah, it was in some cutscenes and stuff, but to your point, then you flip to this TV show, and that's a whole TV show with connects at points. It's in the same, universe and the same general like plot of, but like you're focusing on they have a whole different lead character. Like that's that, you know, that lead for the TV show, and then Jack is the lead for the game. And they do, cross paths, I think, towards the end. Not the characters, but just the stories more. But like, yeah, I just didn't really like. I don't feel like I super connected with the character because it was just like I kind of just play as him for 25 minutes and then I switched to watching my TV show. So there's not those natural moments that you would get normally in terms of getting more character development for him. I feel like that's what was
Yeah.
lacking.
And expecting people to care about two different people and they really don't have any clue what's going on. On top of that, your antagonist is just kind of bland.
Yeah, it's kind of just like generic bad guy.
Yeah, and I think that's where I hate I hate the concept of Quantum Break because I want to like Quantum Break.
Yeah.
It's a game I want to like, but the more I play it, the more I find reasons not to.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think go ahead.
It's just it wants to be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's kind of like, oh my God, I have time powers and all this stuff. It's like a really nice frosting on just like a stale cake.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate saying that about it because Alan Wake was still a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Wake is still a good time. Control is awesome.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, and then there's you.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if you want to talk about something kind of doing TV show at the same time as game, like Dispatch is a good example of like it is definitely more where you kind of just have like the gameplay moment, and then you're still making the conversation choices, but you are largely just watching like an interactive cutscene. But I think it like all the gameplay that's there is working. They in an interview they said the devs of Dispatch were like, we cut out the walking segments of something like The Walking Dead for Telltale, where it's like you're kind of just walking around the level and it's like, okay, I need this wrench to fix this thing, and now I click for the wrench and it's in my inventory and I go. They cut all that out because people felt like it was just boring. And I think that's the same thing with Quantum Break. Like for certain people, it's like I came here to play a game. Now I'm watching a TV show, and I didn't want to watch a TV show. Why are you making me watch a TV show, Remedy? So it's that same thing. But like that's the thing. It's like it can work as a concept. I feel of kind of pulling back the reins and interactivity, but you just got to find that sweet spot of like how much. And if you are what is the interactivity then if you're going to put it in? Because again, what you just said, if it's I'm just grabbing a wrench and it's in my inventory and I'm walking, like then I don't care. This just feels like busy work. So
yeah, and
yeah.
that's one of the biggest problems is like when games do kind of feel like that, and Telltale ones do. Like I mean, Telltale ones very much do. One of my hugest pet peeves is if if you have those mandatory tutorials, right? Mandatory tutorials, make sure to sit there and talk to every single person so we can figure it. And I'm like, I don't, but
Yeah.
I know this person has code. This person has code. Just let me do it. I have the same issue right now with Digimon. I'm playing Digimon Cyber Sleuth. And one of the things is like, make sure you have to go check out this before you can even like proceed through. And I hate that immersion. But when I look at like a game like Quantum Break with it, like at least just complaining about Digimon, at least they give me the fucking choice of like moving around and all that shit. With Quantum Break, it was very much just enough downtime where it's like you walk, you have a talk with. There was another girl I think that helped you. There was a woman that helped you. I don't even remember her. That's sad. I don't even remember the characters' names.
It might have been April, but I feel like I'm wrong. I don't want to commit to that.
It's April today, so yeah. And it's just like everything about that game will always be just a collaboration of what if. Like, what if we made the game focus on one aspect of the game instead of trying to focus an aspect on two? What if we were a little more creative with your fucking time powers? Because like giving me a time shield or just like a little area where I can just pop time in, especially for a person that at the end of the day is a normal person. Like, let me be creative with my abilities. Give me a way that I can heal by rewinding myself.
Yeah.
Like, give me when they do the bullets or whatever go flying. And I'm like, yeah, cool. I have a shield, but I never used it. I barely ever used it. Like, I don't know. I think with Quantum Break is one that I might have to go back and replay, but I don't want to do
it. I think the thing too is it's kind of ironic because I remember there was kind of a storyline towards the end where the characters were telling you your story is destined and it's only down this one path, but it's like ironically this is like a choices matter game, so it's like you're straight up telling me that it's like nah, like it doesn't really matter, but it's like it's supposed to, like that's kind of the whole point of it, is that I pick this junction and then like the TV show I watch is different in however much of an aspect that you've designed it. But yeah, that did stick out to me when I played it.
Yeah, but it's just one of those games where I don't know. I just hope for more. But I also don't want to stop the Remedyverse. Yeah,
I mean, like I mentioned previous, I'm doing Control DLC now, so I'm excited to see Mr. Alan Wake pop up. And do some of that, and then lead into Alan Wake 2 whenever I get to that. I don't know what's going to happen, but
and then Control
Resident. Yeah, it's so cool that they're connected, but it's not to the point right now where it's like MCU, where it's like, well, you've reached the Marvel checkpoint. Have you watched this Disney Plus show and this other thing and this? It's people always say, "Oh, it's like homework at this point," So
yeah, and I'm glad that Remedy's not.
Like, it's like a fun little like, ooh, these are connected, but it's not to the point where you're not going to be able to enjoy the other game because you haven't played the other.
Control was so needed because it kind of gave reasons for why things were going nuts. The typewriter was an object of power. And the fact that it could just created the entire town, I believe. That's awesome. Like that's a cool ass thing. And then you learn about the objects of power from different, like the carousel. Like, and honestly, it's reading some of the things were absolutely terrifying. Like, this place is, I don't want to work here. I don't want to work here at all. Like, I don't want to work in a place that, you have the janitor that's like, I don't know who the janitor is. At some point, I'm like, this janitor's just God. Like, he's here because he wants to be. And if he feels like Vati, I believe his name is, but he feels like he's part of the old house.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah.
Like, there's so much with Control that just, it's more interesting every time you go and you explore.
Yeah, I think Remedy's in a really cool spot right now. I know FBC Firebreak wasn't really the hit that they were expecting. It's like, I think that kind of harkens back to what I've said about Remedy. It's like, sometimes they try stuff and sometimes it just does not work. And it's like, that is frustrating, and it's tough for them as a developer, obviously. But it's like, I think their approach to design and just their overall like vibe, and I feel kind of how they're looked at from the community. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but it's almost like, even if they have something and it doesn't really hit, I'm like more forgiving to it, because I'm like, well, I see what you're going for, and I like appreciate what you're doing and the choices you're making as a developer. So it's like you're able to raise them up for their wins, and be able to forgive them for the losses a bit more, because at the end of the day, they're really just trying to provide the best experience for you as a player.
Absolutely. So real quick here beforehand, a question I always ask someone, because I appreciate you being up here, man. Where can they find you again?
Yeah, so for my TikTok on Game Journal, it's going to be game_journal. On YouTube, I'm also posting there is game_journal_1. And then if you do want to check out Save State Sessions, the podcast I brought up a couple times on here, the YouTube for that is Save State Sessions, all one word. And same thing on Instagram, Save State Sessions. We post there as well.
Save State Sessions.
Yep.
All right. I'm taking a look at it right now. You said it's up on Insta and YouTube.
Yeah, Instagram and YouTube is where we're just posting like cut downs from the episode. So just short form stuff. But if you want to watch the full discussion that we have of, each game that we're playing, that's going to be on our YouTube.
Is it okay? SAVE?
Yes.
Stay Sessions. STAYSESSIONS podcast.
Yeah.
I'll have to go look for it, because right now I'm finding like Save Sinners, and I'm like, I don't think that's it.
Yeah, I threw the spelling in our chat here, but I can DM you as well afterwards.
All right. So, State. That's why. Okay, I put Stay.
Save State Sessions.
Yeah, I found you here.
Awesome.
I was like, wow, I'm a dumbass.
No worries.
But alrighty, man. I appreciate you being here. I know it's always difficult to find time sometimes, getting people in and stuff like that. But I appreciate you making time as always. And for everyone else, you guys know where to find me. There's Twitch, there's YouTube, because I know that's how you're watching this place. That's how you're watching it in the first place. There's TikTok. That's where I do a lot of my shit. Majority of my shit gets done on TikTok. I'm actually looking to try to do a big Q&A with multiple developers to kind of debunk the whole like devs are lazy notion.
Okay.
So, yeah, cool. That's gonna be pretty dope. We can probably in like March or something. But like Instagram, you can find me on there. That has some of the most toxic people, I swear to God. I do have a Twitter account or X or whatever, but I barely use it. Don't find me on there. But besides that, that's all I got for today. And as always, I'm Taylor from Afro Official G, and I will catch you all in the next one.